Thank you all for being here this morning. My name is Parth Shukla. I'm the manager of the help desk department for the IT. I have Daniel Chu here. He's our help desk technician from the help desk team. Daniel and I are going to be co-presenting today's Tech Talk. Today's session is going to be on computer security awareness, right? I know it's a topic that you guys might have heard of it, through emails, send out announcement at times. You might have gotten emails from ITS as well to change your passwords often. But we feel like really doing a presentation on computer security and cover a lot of different aspects will really help you understand why it's important. Why it's really important for you to make sure that your computer is secured, and what can you do, to help yourself be protected in this online world. So the internet has made it extremely easy for us to communicate, share information, gain information, send data back and forth. However, it has also made a lot of problems, and that too, with the online attacks, emails we get usually, the spam emails, people trying to steal information from you by making you log into a link and sign you into a site and stealing your password, right? That happens almost every day to out there, and we get emails like that too, that we usually let people know about, that hey, this is spam email, make sure you don't click on it, make sure you delete it, right? And that is why it's very important for us to really know what we technical services group do to keep you guys protected, by making sure your computer is patched, has security patches installed, the antivirus is installed, on your computer, and just making sure that your computer is safe so that you can do your job. However, there is a responsibility that also falls onto your shoulder, things that you have to do to keep yourself protected, right? And that's the presentation that we are going to be doing today. Give you a little bit of idea what TSC's role is in the security awareness, and what's your role in this fight, if you will, to keep ourselves protected. So why do we care? Well, we care because data is very important. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with Stanford data that you're dealing with here at work, or your personal data, right? Data is very important. Here at Stanford, we all have emails, right? We all communicate with our coworkers, consultants, contractors. We send them data plans, with floor plans. We send information about upcoming projects, right? We might even deal with financial information. So think of it as if a data that if it gets into if it gets into wrong hands, they can really take advantage of that information by gaining an upper hand, right? Things like that do not die easily. It can, easily be blown out of proportion. It can easily be part of, front page of San Jose Mercury News. Stanford computers were hacked. It really can affect not only just our productivity for the users, but it actually also hurts Stanford's reputation, which is very important, right? And we usually don't deal with a lot of intellectual property, but a lot of other schools do. But we might deal with information that deals with project amounts, project financial data, even your personal information. You log into Access, check your paycheck, you log into your Fidelity account, check your 401k balance and all that. And that's important. That's the information that only you are supposed to see. If that gets stolen, people can go in, check that information out for you, even steal that information and use it against you, it gets messy, right? And it's also important to make sure that the computer, iPads, iPhones, or any other devices that are assigned to you by Stanford, we really take good care of it, and use it, so that it falls into a category, so that we can make sure that we use computer in the right way to get the work done, right? a lot of times we get emails, we click on it, and your computer will get a virus, and you're down, if it's a weekend, you're away from work, geez, you don't have a computer. It becomes a real hassle, right?
Two other things I might want to add here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Regarding Stanford's reputation, we're in a unique position being a premier research university that people always have our eyes on us. So a couple months ago, there was a hacking incident where a couple of very unimportant web servers were compromised by a university hacking team called Ghost Shell. Even though the servers were old, they weren't important. Because they hacked several prominent universities, this was big enough to make the news. So even little incidents make enough of a splash on tech blogs for this to be a worry. Another thing I want to point out too is even if you, for some reason, have $0 in your bank account, no data worth stealing, your computer itself is a very valuable resource, and infected computers can be used as part of a network of computers to attack other people who may have something that the hackers are looking for. So that's another thing to keep in mind is everybody's a valuable target for a hacker. Even if you don't have data, don't have money, your computer itself is a very valuable resource for hackers.
Exactly. You know, for a lot of spammers, a lot of hackers, hack into a computer at Stanford, that's like bragging rights, right? So it's one of those things that, geez, Stanford University, Harvard, you know, man, if I can hack into a computer at Stanford, that's like bragging rights, you know, in my hacking community, right? So it's
update your hacking resume.
Exactly. Thank you, Daniel. So let's focus a little bit on, you know, keep in mind, security is a balancing act, right? On one side of the, bar, we have technical services group, things that we do to keep your computer safe, make sure your computers are backed up, your computers are fully patched with security updates so that there are no security holes, right? Laptops are encrypted, right? Your iPads, iPhones have Stanford's mobile device management installed, so the mobile or the iPad is encrypted as well. It's password protected, right? So if somebody steals your iPhone or iPad, they can't get into it unless they know the passcode. The backups are encrypted, right? A lot of things happens in the background that you don't know about, but we do a proactive job to make sure that your computers are really secure. There is so much we can do, right? We can really make a secure computer for you with no CD-ROM drive, no USB ports, no internet connectivity, and we guarantee you nobody's going to hack in. But what's the use for you, right? You need to have those peripherals to copy the data into your computer, Wi-Fi connection so that you can go online, log into Access, log into Oracle, do your job, right? So that's where the burden shifts to you. What can you do to protect yourself? You can have strong passwords, right? You can actually lock your screen when you don't use your computer. We'll get more into that down the road, how to avoid spam. And then there's a new feature called two-step authentication that we'll dive more into and explain to you what it does. Okay? So today's agenda, is for us to watch. We'll show you a little glimpse of a security awareness video that we all have to watch, and we have to make sure we watch it by March 12th. Okay? And we'll show you a little glimpse of that. Make sure you guys go back. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you log into accounts.stanford.edu and watch a video, right? And then we'll go through, explain to you things we do as IT to make sure our computers are, protected. We have antivirus software installed. We have laptops encrypted with BitLocker software. We have automated backups that we run to make sure your data is backed up. If you lose your laptop, your data is safe with us. We'll talk about the mobile device management. We'll talk about, how to protect your computer and your devices by locking your screens, selecting strong passwords, avoiding phishing, and then Stanford two-step authentication. So let me switch gears here. I'm going to dive right into the video and show you a glimpse of how the video, where the video is set up. If you go to accounts.stanford.edu, log in using your student ID and password, and the first page you'll see here, watch Employee Information Security Awareness video. Oh, let me log in.
just moved to the biggest city in the world. There are billions of people living there, hundreds of thousands in your apartment building. In your neighborhood, there are a million businesses, places to shop, places to meet people, places to have fun. Some of the people on the streets are your friends, but most of them are strangers. And some of them, a small number, are the city's criminals looking for people to take advantage of. That big city is the internet. And a lot of what you learned about staying safe in the real world can help you stay safe online, too. In this video, we're going to take a few minutes to show you the basics of staying safe on the virtual streets. It'll be short and full of stick figure action, and all of the outside material I'll mention is linked at securecomputing.stanford.edu.
So we'll stop here. We just wanted to give you a glimpse of this video. It's very important for all of us to go online, go to accounts.stanford.edu and finish watching the video. We have to do it by March 12th. We'll jump right back into the presentation now. Now, as I'm doing this, how many of you here know what a virus is? Or spyware? Or worm? Or botnet? You know, there are so many words, so many terms. Anybody who can explain a little bit, what a virus is? Before we jump right back into the spreadsheet? No? Okay. Yeah, no, go ahead. Good point. Thank you, Dobie. Affects your computer. Anybody else? Destroy your data. Okay. All right.
Even destroy the computer, the computer can be completely destroy the hard drive.
Good point.
Yeah.
Corrupt the hard drive. Good point. Steal your data. Anybody else? Good point. It can spread. It is a virus. It can spread from a computer to computer. Very good. All right. That's good. Let me jump right back into the presentation and we'll dive right into what a virus is and we'll explain to you guys. Okay, a lot of terms. Virus, Trojans, malware, worms, so many words, so many terms. Well, you guys got it. It's a potentially harmful program that can get into your computer and can affect it can steal data, it can affect the productivity of a computer, it can really drain resources, so you can't open Word and get your work done, right? It can really screw up your computer, so next time you boot up, it won't even boot up, right? It can delete or corrupt data, good point. And keep in mind that a lot of these viruses don't get into your computer by portraying themselves as a virus. Hey, I'm a virus. Can I get into your computer? Right? Can't happen. So they disguise themselves as an attachment, right? A greeting card. You get a greeting card from your sister, or from your husband, or something like that. Oh, gee, my husband sent me a greeting card, or my friend sent me a greeting card. Let me click on it. Downloads a little program, installs it automatically on your computer, and boom, your computer is infected. They can also be disguised in audio or video files. So when you download something from internet, be very careful about it. And internet games, right? So if you download internet games, play a lot of internet games, and if it's not from a trustful source, it can attract spam. It can attract spyware. It can attract virus. So be very careful, right? So how do we quarantine a virus or any of these terms? We have antivirus. All your computers are protected with Sophos antivirus, right? It's a program that detects infections. It notifies the user, that, hey, you have a virus. Do something about it, right? Now, a lot of things are already set up, so it'll clean the virus or quarantine a virus, but there are some nasty programs that are out there. Virus that comes out today, antivirus won't have any updates for that new virus, right? So it'll notify you, the antivirus program will notify you, hey, there's a virus, do something, right? At that time, as a user, you have to notify somebody. Oh, gee, I got to do something. Let me call help desk, right? So if ever a virus gets into your computer and you get a notification, you call our help desk, and one of our guys will come over and help you guys out, quarantine the virus. We actually also get proactive notifications from the Sophos antivirus to us. But a lot of times, there might be a delay. You might be working on a computer and get a virus, notifies you right away, and there's a delay where it sends a message to us saying, hey, this person's computer got infected, but you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. You have to call right away, so that we can come right to your desk, make sure, first of all, we disconnect the computer so it doesn't spread, right? Good point. And then we, quarantine the virus to get rid of it.
And the notice comes from the antivirus software.
Exactly.
Right? So it'll pop up on your
screen.
the user's screen
Right.
From that software that says it detected something.
Exactly.
So it'll look like a little balloon in the task manager near the time. The balloon will show up saying, your computer has been infected, please call the help desk at 50445 for some help.
Is that one of those like 20-second balloons that goes away?
I think, yeah, it goes away, then it comes back in a few minutes, it'll notify you again, and it's not too intrusive, so it stays on your screen unless the virus is really nasty and you can't do nothing, then you'll get a pop-up saying, do something about it. But the point here is to really let TSG know about it right away as soon as you get a virus, right? So that we can do something about it. We can take care of the problem. Okay? All the time. It actually does on-access scan. So you download a file, it scans for a virus. Anything that gets into your computer, it scans for a virus right away. And then we have weekly scans set up. It does weekly full system scan to look for any viruses. And if it does, it'll notify you. Okay? So let's change the gears and talk a little bit about data encryption, right? Before I get into what encryption is, I really want to spend some time to talk about data classification. Stanford has, ISO's office has put out a table that talks about different kind of data that we all manage, use, deal with. And I want to talk a little bit about that. There are three categories. There is a prohibited, restricted, and confidential. A lot of us here within LBRE don't deal with prohibited or restricted data, right? Social security, credit card numbers, passport, visa, HIPAA information. But a lot of us will fall into this category, confidential, right? Keep in mind, Stanford internal memos, email. If you think, you don't deal with any confidential or restricted data, you might have confidential data, right? That's in your email. Internal memos, right? And if you have project information about like SETI project, that's a huge project, that everybody knows about it on campus, but things that we do internally to keep the project going, that's more shared between our staff members, right? So if it gets leaked out, it can become a problem. So a lot of us fall into this category, confidential, and the way we want to let you guys know about it, that if you are not too sure about what category you fall into, by default, consider yourself in confidential category, right? Because of the email. And you may know the data that you deal with, but you may not control information you receive. So if somebody sends you confidential information, then boom, you fall into this category, right? So it's very important for us to understand this table, and that's why before I get into encryption, I wanted to talk a little bit about that so that we can explain to you what the differences are. Okay?
I think one easy way to remember or think about confidential information is if the piece of data you're thinking about were to make it into the newspaper tomorrow, would that be okay? And if the answer is no, it's probably confidential information.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So all the laptops that we have within LBRE, they are all encrypted with Windows BitLocker, right? Now, in the past, with Windows XP computers, we had something called PGP encryption installed, which was, it's corrupted a lot of laptops. It created some havoc, right? In fact, ITS said we won't support PGP anymore. We recommend, everybody, migrating folks over to Windows 7 so that we can take advantage of the Windows 7 BitLocker. And that's what we've been doing. Encryption is a method that you can apply to your laptop's hard drive or computer's hard drive to convert the binary code into another code that takes a long time to decrypt it. So if you need to have a key to decrypt the code, right, to read the information that's on the laptop or a computer. So encryption is really very critical for all of us here who uses laptops, so that if you take it home, you take it to Starbucks cafe and you forget about it and you lost it or somebody steals that laptop, they can't really get into your laptop and steal the data, confidential data that we talked about in the data classification table. It'll take years and centuries for somebody to really decrypt the laptop if they don't have the key, right? And that's why we make sure that all our laptops are encrypted. And by the way, remember, if whoever has used PGP in the past, PGP was a little annoying because you had to like have that passphrase, huge humongous passphrase to type in to get into the computer. BitLocker is not. BitLocker is password-less encryption, which is nice. You turn your computer on, you get the control-delete screen, you log in, and you're in. It's beautiful.
One last note about encryption is, in the event that you lose your laptop, it really saves the university a lot of money to know that your computer is encrypted. If your computer is not encrypted, they have to launch a fairly extensive investigation to determine what was on the computer. Is it going to cost us money? Who's going to be affected? Once the encryption is on there, it pretty much brings the investigation down to it's encrypted, it's lost, we'll just get you a new laptop. No investigation involved, or very limited investigation involved. So this is kind of like our get out of jail free card. Once the encryption's on there, nobody can crack into it, just get a new laptop and move on.
Exactly. That's actually a good segue to talk about what if your computer does get stolen? What happens to the data that's on the laptop, right? Remember I mentioned to you about the data backups, right? So we have, go to the next slide, talk a little bit about all your laptops have a program installed on it and it's constantly running in the background that you don't know about. It's called Crash Plan Pro, right? It actually backs up your data every hour to our server. You create a new document, save it to your desktop or save it to your folder on your computer, boom, it backs it up within 1 hour. It runs every hour, and all it needs is an internet connection. So you can be in Starbucks working on a document, you save it, you close it, and you're connected to internet, it'll back it up, right? You make a change to a document, it'll see that change. If you edit a document, it'll see that edit on the document, it'll update that. Keep version control. Go ahead, Toby.
So it only will back up documents that have been changed. It doesn't do like full backup.
It actually does the full backup the first time when we install it and configure it, and after that it's all Delta, right?
But
whatever.
not every hour, right?
Every hour, no, not every hour to do the full backup, only the change.
So if I was at Starbucks or off campus, I'm not going to be slowed down because it's some kind of process, backup process running in the background.
Absolutely not, because it'll check to see, if all the data that's already backed up on the server, what's changed on the laptop just recently, and it'll just back that up, right? There is no need to back up the entire laptop again because the copy's already there on the server.
Great.
So it's very smart like that, very intelligent.
So what happens when it shows up if you haven't been backed up for 3 days?
Good point. So a lot of, it could be a lot of things, right? We would, first of all, notify us so we can come by and take a look at it. Second of all, it could be that you don't have internet connection, you're not connected properly to internet. It could also be that, there is a maintenance going on the server on the backend side, when you were working on it, at night, late night or something like that, and, it loses connection with the server, but it'll connect back to the server automatically and it'll start the backup. Yeah, exactly. So it could be a lot of options there, depending on when you were disconnected from the backup server, and did you have Wi-Fi connection on? Were you connected to the internet? Or were you just completely on an island using a laptop working on a Word document, but you don't have an internet connection, right? If you don't have internet connection, it's not going to back it up.
Most likely it's like vacations, holiday breaks, or you just shut the internet connection off.
Exactly.
You're working on Word docs.
Right. Okay. All right, great. Oh, by the way, and if you lose your laptop, we give you a new laptop, encrypt it, restore the data. You're back in business, right? That's why we have Crash Plan, and that's why we keep our laptops encrypted. By the way, we are also extending the Crash Crash Plan Pro installs on the desktop as well because we think there's a value of backing up all computers, not just the laptops. So that brings us to mobile devices, right? iPads, iPhones, etc. Now, Stanford has a program called Mobile Device Management that encrypts your laptop, your iPad, your phone. It actually enforces a PIN lock, so you always have to have a PIN lock to get into your phone or an iPad, right? It does remote wipes. If somebody steals your iPad or if you lose your phone, you can log into the mdm.stanford.edu site and do a remote wipe. It'll wipe Stanford data off of it completely, right? And by the way, if somebody steals your iPad or your iPhone, if they try to, because it will be password protected, if somebody tries to enter a password a few times, and if they get 10 failed attempts, it'll wipe the phone or wipe the iPad automatically. Okay, so it's very secure, and it's a service that's offered by Stanford, and we've installed on all the phones, iPhones and iPads. It's not Android compatible. Just wanted to mention that. I know. I see your face, Toby. You're like.
No, I was just thinking of my daughter trying to unlock the phone.
Yeah.
And trying 11 times.
Yes.
Don't leave that laying on the table.
Good point.
So the BlackBerries are not protected?
They're not protected in a managed way. So this allows us to have these fancy tools where we can go into a website and wipe things out. But there's still things we can do to protect BlackBerries and Androids. We just don't have the luxury of doing it in one neat little application.
Exactly. Regardless of your phone, personal phone, or your Stanford phone or iPad, you should always have a PIN code set up on phone or an iPad. That's regardless of using an MDM or not, so that nobody can get in. You know, we carry so much information on phones and PDAs nowadays. It's crazy. So that wraps up my part of presentation. We are gonna switch gears, and Daniel's gonna come over and talk a little bit about things that you could do to keep yourself secure. Daniel?
All right, thank you, Faris. So, this next section, I want to cover the things that you as users can do to help keep your computer safe. A lot of this will be probably familiar advice, but I really want to delve into the why or the how of this advice, so you better understand why these recommendations are made. The first thing I want to cover is locking your screen. Most of you are probably pretty good about locking your office door. You might have your laptop locked down to the laptop lock, or when you leave work, you'll lock your laptop away in a cabinet. But one thing that's important to do as well is to lock your screen when you leave your desk. Because if you don't lock your screen and you're waiting for the screensaver 15 minutes later to kick in and lock your screen for you, in that 15-minute window, anybody can just walk up to your computer and use it. They could steal data from your computer, delete data from your computer, send emails on your behalf, lots of very bad things. And thankfully, this is pretty easy to do. On Windows, there's a couple ways to lock your screen, one of which is pressing the Windows key and L automatically locks your screen. That's covered in the handout that we've got in the back as well. Pressing Control-Delete, that's a pretty familiar combination people have probably grown accustomed to. Pressing that combination will bring up a menu that also allows you to lock your computer. And the last option for Windows 7 is if you go to the Start menu, there's a little arrow next to Shutdown. If you click that arrow, it gives you some options to either restart your computer or log off. And one of those options is to lock the screen. Phones in general, I just want to add in, like Parth mentioned, keep your phones locked with the PIN code. Usually you'll have it on your person, so you don't normally have to force it off like you do with force it to be locked like you do with a computer. But you want to make sure it's got a PIN lock on, so in the event that it gets stolen, you lose it somewhere, people just can't unlock your phone and get into your data. The next aspect I want to cover is passwords, and I know this has been one aspect that's probably been covered many times in every organization you may have worked for. These are critical parts of your security. That password is effectively your key into your computer, your Stanford systems, email, and you want to make sure that's protected to keep people from getting access to those accounts. Before I continue, I want to have a little discussion here. How would you, if you don't know anything about somebody's password, what would you try to do to get that password? How would you crack that password? Do you have any ideas?
Use their name.
You could try using their name. That's one method.
Send them an email.
Send them an email. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Trick them to put it in them.
Right. That's a good point.
I would load a key tracking software on the machine.
That's one method as well. Surprisingly, cracking passwords is actually really it's actually a really blunt force and dumb approach. Most people, they'll have some method of infecting your computer or getting some way to access your encrypted password, and they'll just throw combinations at it until they find your password, which sets us up for why choosing certain types of passwords is important. There's three elements I want to focus on of all the advice that we could do to keep a strong password, and that's to have a long password, have a variety of characters in your password, and to avoid common phrases in your password. The long password here is the one I want to focus on first. If you were to have a short password, 6 characters long, all lowercase letters, that's about 300,000 combinations a hacker has to try. And that sounds like a lot, but for a computer that can do millions of operations in a minute, that's nothing. I mean, a 6-letter lowercase password can be cracked in a matter of minutes. Just simply adding an extra character to that brings that number of combinations to 8 billion. Adding one extra one for a total of 8 characters brings it to 208 billion. So adding extra characters is very important in delaying attackers from being able to guess your password. The next thing to do, though, is 208 billion is still relatively small for a computer. That may only delay them up to a couple of days. So it's important to use different character types. These character types are uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, symbols. And by adding each type to your password, that's more combinations that hackers will have to try to guess what your password is, greatly increasing the time it takes to crack your password. Now, I said that cracking a password is kind of a dumb process, and hackers have come with a couple of clever tricks to try to shorten the time it takes to crack your password, and they've recognized that people use fairly common patterns in their passwords. So they'll take advantage of that. And the last bit of advice I have for passwords is to avoid common phrases. That would be any word you can find in the dictionary, avoid it. Any favorites that you have, avoid it. Any friends of relatives' names or pets, try to avoid that too. Regarding the first piece of advice, dictionary words, some hacking tools will just check through a list of dictionary words to see which of these are part of your password. And instead of having to guess random combinations of passwords, they can just check the dictionary, and that'll be much, much faster than guessing. Favorites, relatives, friends, or pets, these are important too. There's not really a list of favorites or names or things they can try, but a very determined hacker, all it would take is just to look at your Facebook page, LinkedIn profile, professional profile at Lbre if you got an Lbre page, and they can make some guesses about what's important to you or who's connected to your life, and they'll use that to try to crack your password. So avoid those. All three of these elements, long passwords, a variety of characters, and avoiding common phrases in your password are critical for a strong password. Some additional tips. For sites that are very important to you, like financial sites, critical systems, use a different password for every site. In the event that your password gets compromised, you accidentally submit it to a phishing site, which we'll cover in a second, they finally crack your password, or there's a security hole at a different site. Maybe there's a security breach at the bank and they lose the passwords. Use a different password for every site, because once one password is cracked, it's not too much of a leap to try that password at different sites that would be valuable, sites containing your health information, social security number, banks. So it's important to use a different password for every site that's important to you. And change them regularly. if you use a strong password, I would say you'd only have to change it about once a month, or once every 6 months, once a year. By changing that password, any attempts they've been making to crack your password get completely reset because you've got a new password. Those guesses don't count anymore. Despite all this bad news about passwords, I do have one bit of advice, which is to just abbreviate a favorite phrase, quote, a lyric to help remember your password. I know the common phrases are tempting to use because it helps you remember your password a lot easier, but by abbreviating a favorite phrase, quote, or lyric, it's easier to remember something like that than it is to remember XG, capital J, $, 347. One example I've highlighted on the handout is from Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. If you take I see trees of green, red roses too, add maybe a number to the end of it, it turned that into $TOGRRT13, or any number that's important to you. You can easily meet the requirements for a strong password, and because it's a phrase that's already familiar with you or has some meaning to you, this will be easier to type and remember than it would be some randomly generated password.
Daniel?
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions on where to put your passwords, like where to store them? Like if you say you have different passwords for different sites?
Different passwords for different sites.
That can be tricky.
That can be tricky.
So with passwords, you're not meant to write it down on a piece of paper. But if you do want to write it down, right? Let's just say that you just want to remember what you set up a password for Yahoo or for your LinkedIn account. What I tell people to do is, if you have a phrase, right, and you want to make a note of that password, instead of typing the entire password, type a couple of letters in the front, ... last password. So at least it can give you a hint, what, it will give you a lot of hints actually. Oh, I remember for the Yahoo password, it's my pet's name, you said no, so make sure you change it. But it's like a phrase. If you have a phrase or something like that, you can have that, but don't just type the entire password to remind yourself. Have some dots in the middle, so you can hash it out.
I think a couple other suggestions. If you do have to write it down, just keeping it somewhere safe.
Or apps or something, maybe?
There
I
are
can
a lot of
discuss apps. I don't know if there's any apps approved for Stanford use, but at least for personal use, we can go over some of those apps towards the end that you can use.
The problem with those apps is that once you store a password, that app has a master key to log in to the app. So if that login key gets stolen, guess what?
They got all of it.
They hit a jackpot then. So that's why it's important to not note down your passwords. And if you do, hash it out.
Yeah, I like that suggestion with putting dots in.
Yeah.
That's what I do in my notepad of my iPhone. I put down whatever it is, and then I just put like question mark,
Yeah.
and then little reminders.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives you a hint to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So phishing emails, we've probably run into a lot of these, and I'm sure we're familiar with a couple of examples. One of the most familiar being the fabulously wealthy Nigerian prince who wants to bequeath his fortune onto you. A lot of times, we'll review the phishing just to set up the next few steps here. A lot of times we're seeking credentials. They just want some sort of login information from you, or they may want to try to get a program onto you, like Parth mentioned, disguised as a PDF or a greeting card to get that information from you. So that's the main method they rely on, is tricking people to give the information out voluntarily, so they don't have to spend all the time guessing it. The common theme to these emails, as I said, are promises of great wealth. That hasn't been working lately. I mean, most people can see through that. But another tactic that's been used is to threaten the loss of something important. Maybe if you don't sign in here and confirm that your account's active, you'll lose email access. Maybe you won't get your paycheck, or maybe the IRS will come after you, something like that. And the key weapon you have here, just check for inconsistencies. If you have an email saying, if you don't sign in here to confirm something, we'll audit you from the IRS, and the IRS can barely spell their own name. There's kind of a problem there. Also look out for strange URLs. URLs are the links in the email that they want you to click on, and they'll usually lead to a fake login page where you'll submit your information which then gets sent to the hacker. Look at the link that's included, and if there's no link, it just says click here. Hover over that link, and there's going to be a little window that shows up that shows you where it goes to. It should go to a familiar site. For example, if FedEx says you got a tracking slip you need to check out, and you hover over the link, and it says it's actually going to docs.google.com, something's not right with that picture. Make sure they include some sort of contact information. A lot of emails aren't very good about this, but for the emails that do include contact information, make sure it matches what you know. So if you get an email from us with our phone number on it, make sure that that number makes sense. Most of you are probably familiar with 50445, and if you see that email, then it matches up. You know that you can call that number and confirm with us that that's a real email. And also check for unknown senders. It's very easy to spoof somebody's name in an email, pretend like you're somebody else. Not as easy to spoof an email address. So if your niece is kittypaws@comcast.net, but you notice that her name shows up, but her email address at the top of the email is actually superhackerman@euronet.co.uk, then you know something's kind of wrong with this email and that you should be careful with it. So I want to go into an exercise. We want to look at these two emails and see, given what you know so far about identifying phishing emails, which of these is real and which of these is fake. We'll give a minute for Exhibit A, then Exhibit B. Just think to yourselves, we'll discuss afterwards which is real and which is fake and why you were led to that conclusion. Let's start with Exhibit A now for about a minute. I'll give it a couple more seconds, and let's move on to the next one.
Got it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's go ahead and discuss. So just show of hands, who thought Exhibit A was fake? And then how about Exhibit? You can say both. That's a valid answer as well.
I would want to hover over the links. I would question both of them.
Yeah.
Good point.
So we got one vote for A. How about B?
B.
Definitely B.
B. Yeah.
So I hear a lot of answers for B. So let's go ahead and visit A again. So Dopey, I think A is fake. What were some of the things that tip you off?
So everything looks good.
Yeah.
You've got phone numbers and you've got email links and stuff. But just because the way I always am very cautious, I usually don't click.
That's a good practice,
I
yes.
usually highlight them and put them in a browser.
Yep.
Or I hover over and make sure they match.
Yes.
Because in a lot of the phishing ones, they won't match. They'll have stanford.edu/something, and you hover over it, and as you mentioned, it goes somewhere else.
Yep.
So I don't just say, oh, this is from my mom, I'm going to click on that.
Yeah.
I question everything.
That's a very good practice. And then how about for B? Let's get some input from everybody about what led you all to believe that there's something wrong with this email.
first line, that email address.
That's very good. So yeah, something's off about the email address. It's very unlikely that if information technology services were to send an official announcement, it's going to come from fdzxch@stanford.edu. It'd probably be something a little more descriptive, like its@stanford.edu. Any other hints that we've noticed? Second link, that's we'll go over that in just a moment as well. How about anything else? Anything else that seems off? Yeah, this one's a little difficult. So I want to point out the only other kind of thing that's a little off is this number here. Most people are familiar with 50445. Some people are probably familiar with calling 5help. 5help is ITS's actual number, so it's a little confusing why they would include this number here that not a lot of people are familiar with to call if you had a question. The second thing I want to point out, and it's a little more tricky, is that the address here, it looks like it ends at access.stanford.edu, but notice that it keeps going to .student.25n.be. The address actually ends at .be, so somebody's faking the address. But sometimes that's not really obvious. So what can we do if you run into a strange situation like this? As Adobe mentioned, just if you don't trust the email or you're not sure, don't click any links, don't open any attachments. If it seems suspicious to us, report the email to us and we'll be glad to take a look at it and determine if the message is real or fake, especially if it's an announcement about service. We'll confirm whether or not that service is supposed to happen and if you really do need to sign in. And most of the time the answer is no. There should be no situation where we ask you to sign into anything to continue getting service or something to that effect. And lastly, once you've reported it, just delete the email so you don't accidentally click on the link or download the file. Gilbert?
So, if something like this, if you're not sure about it, you just forward to Daniel.
Yes, so you can forward it to
IT help, Lbre IT help. So we all get it in IT. If Daniel's on vacation, I don't want Daniel to be answering emails, right? One of us from our team can pick up that email, come help you. So always email it to Lbre IT help, and one of us will come by, help you out.
So there's additional steps too. If you're just still not 100% sure, like the Exhibit B, it was an actual attack from December, and the scary thing about that link was it actually led to a site that looked just like the Access sign-in site. If you weren't careful, there would be no way to tell that you'd gotten to a fake site. If you think you need to sign in for whatever reason, and you shouldn't, but if you do, don't use the links in the email, because that's what the hackers want you to click. They've got a very specially crafted site that's collecting your information, and it's made just to look as closely as possible as Access, except it's sending your data elsewhere. If you use bookmarks you already know to get to Access, or the site is asking you to get to, Google the site. Even just type the address in the URL, or the address bar. If you use those methods to get to the site, then you can look around to see if there's any announcements about whether or not you're supposed to sign in. And by using those known methods of getting to your websites, you've completely avoided that fake link that they really want you to click to submit your information. And again, if there's any doubt, just feel free to ask us, and we'll be happy to take a look at it and see what's going on.
In fact, if I may add, if you have any doubts, always forward it, or call us, let us know about it. We'll let you know. So if you're ever in doubt, just let us know about it. Call us or forward that email. We'll let you guys know if it's fake or not.
The last topic I want to cover today is two-step authentication. And to introduce this topic, I want to think of your password as a key, like I mentioned before. But imagine your door to your house has an extra PIN code to it, so that without both the key and the PIN code, you can't get into your house. If you lose your key and somebody tries to unlock your door, they still can't get in because it needs that PIN code that you have. This is the idea behind two-step authentication. And what it does is it'll add an extra password section, and it's a lot of passwords, but it's not as bad for a reason I'll explain in just a moment. once you sign up with your student ID and password, it'll sometimes ask you for another password that you have to provide. This password comes in 3 methods, and there's no remembering to do, which is good news. It'll come to your phone in either an application that will generate this password for you every once in a while. It'll send a text message to your phone, or you can have a printed list of codes. And the printed list of codes seems a little weird, but if you do a lot of traveling, for example, out of the country where cell service isn't guaranteed, you can use the printed list of codes to have the security while you're away. You can also configure how the second password is prompted so that it's not as intrusive. There's options to limit the prompt to every few attempts, and also to limit the prompt depending on your location. So maybe it'll only prompt if you're logged in outside of Stanford, but never prompt if you're in Stanford. So that way, if you're logging out from home, you can keep safe if somebody gets onto your computer, tries to log in, or even tries to log in from China, for example. If somebody hacks your password, tries to log in from China, then it'll ask for the PIN. But if you're on campus, it'll not ask for the PIN. By default, it'll ask for your PIN every 2 times at Stanford, and every 10 times to try to log in outside of campus, but you can change that to meet your needs. And all of this can be set up at accounts.stanford.edu, and if you're interested, we can review or go over how to set that up after the talk.
So if you allow me to add to that, Daniel discussed the spams, right? Let's say that if you clicked on that link, you logged in, you think your account is hacked now. If you have this set up, even if you type their student ID and password on that fake site, they have your password, guess what? They won't be able to still get into your account because you have 2-step authentication set up, right? So go to access.stanford.edu. If that person is trying to gain access to your account from somewhere outside of the U.S., tries to go into stanford.edu or access.stanford.edu, tries your student ID and password, here in America, here at Stanford, at home or somewhere, you get a text saying, enter this code. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't even try to log in. Somebody's trying to log in to my account using my credentials. That tells me somebody's trying to hack into my account. That's actually a good indication for you to go in, change your password so that that person doesn't have that password anymore. So it's a good thing.
So it's any website or anywhere where you're going to enter, you need to enter your student ID.
Student ID
Yes.
and password.
So it's not just logging on the computer.
Exactly.
Yeah, this only applies to. Oh no, this is so. This applies to any Stanford site. So anytime you need to enter in your student ID and password using the WebAuth site.
On a web browser.
On a browser, then it'll send an extra code to your phone.
Got it.
So it applies to the Stanford websites, but it delivers the code to your phone or on a printed sheet of paper.
If you decide to back out after setting this up, is that an easy process?
Yes.
Yes.
You can just, it's a switch. Just turn it off and you're back. That's normal.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the 4 elements users can do to keep their computer safe. That is the locking your screens, using strong passwords, knowing how to identify and avoid phishing emails, and using Stanford's 2-step authentication service to add that extra layer of security to your account. As we mentioned, on our security as a whole, it's a balancing act. There's 2 pieces to it. We reviewed your end, and as Parth mentioned earlier, there's our end too, where we're keeping your computers updated, we're making sure MDM gets on your phones, keeping our firewalls configured correctly, making sure encryption gets on your computer. So that concludes today's Tech Talk. Thank you all for coming. Do you have any questions you'd like to ask at this time? Alice?
If I change my internet password in the center site, then I come back to my laptop, it asks for my password too, right?
Yes.
Does it automatically know that I have changed or I need to do something else?
If your computer is connected to the network, at the time you change your password and try to log back into your computer, it'll know that your password's changed.
So let's say if you just locked your computer and went to a different computer, went to account.stanford.edu, changed the password, you come back to your computer, which is locked, not shut down, locked. You unlock it, you might have to type that old password just to get in. restart the computer, log back in with a new password, right? So it can synchronize that change to your laptop or your computer.
Tina, you had a question as well?
Like, I have a desktop computer at home, and sometimes I try to, check my work email at home, the desktop. I mean, could I be like passing viruses from like home computer back and forth or something, or?
It's possible. Viruses can travel a variety of ways. One is through email. I think it's a little difficult to transmit a virus without actually catching it on there, but if you've got a desktop computer and one of your files gets infected and you say, oh, I need to work on this at work, I'll need to email it to myself, there's a chance you can get past that way. USB drives are another method. I found a couple of instances where people unwittingly have something infected on their USB drive. That computer you plug it into gets infected as well.
That's how it spreads. Yep.
So there is a chance that it can spread that way as well.
So along that line, what is a good antivirus software to have on a personal computer?
Good point. So Stanford allows all Stanford staff and students to download a free Sophos antivirus, on your home computer.
Your own computer?
On your own computer for free, right? If you go to stanford.edu and just type in antivirus in the search, you'll get a link, click on it, go home. If you don't have antivirus, download it. When you click on the link to download the antivirus, it'll ask you to log in using your Sooner ID and password because they want to know that you're a staff, you're full-time staff or student, So yeah, it's free for us. So go home if you have a McAfee or if you have Norton or any other antivirus that is expired, go to stanford.edu and just type in antivirus and it'll
Is that just for Stanford or is it for the family?
Stanford employees.
Employee. Okay.
So, right, so let's say if you want to install that antivirus on your daughter's computer, she will have to go to the Stanford site from her laptop or a computer, log into the account, download the software, install it.
So I could do it, if I have three laptops or whatever at home, I could do it on all of them.
Yep, exactly. Because you could be logging into your email, Stanford email, from your daughter's computer as well. That means you're bringing that Stanford data to that computer. Make sure that that's protected as well.
So Sophos will do exactly what McAfee or Norton or Avast do.
Exactly, but it's more. There are parameters set in Sophos that actually does a lot more than a regular.
More than the regular one.
McAfee or other antiviruses might do, because it's designed to work for Stanford computers, so it'll make sure their computer is that secured. It might have some features.
You'd recommend that over purchasing Norton?
Absolutely. It's free for us. So I would not go out and buy it, I have like 3 computers at home. I have Sophos installed on all 3 of them because I can log into I can use any of the computers to log into my computer, or check my email. I remotely log into my work computer a lot of times from one of those laptops.
In other words, for example, you have one of those like McAfee or Norton. I believe if you use your own computer, you always have to do it yourself from time to time to run all the program from time to time. It's not like Sophos, for example, will run for us, as you said, almost constantly.
Almost all programs do that. That automatically checks for antiviruses, but a lot of settings might be off, so you have to go into the program and set them up to do weekly scan. Like for instance, we download the software, you can set things up, you can do weekly scannings. A lot of programs automatically does the on-demand scan, so if you download something, it scans for a virus to make sure it's not infected. So a lot of programs already do that, But I would use Sophos, it's free for us.
Sometimes when I log into the wireless at the library or other places on my laptop, I get a pop-up, and I have options like, is it work, public, or private, or something like that? I have like 3 options when it's trying to register a new wireless.
Really? And are you connecting to the Stanford wireless or the Stanford?
No, I'm at the library in San Jose.
Oh, San Jose.
I'm in Florida. Wherever I am on a new wireless, it doesn't recognize it, right? It's like
Gotcha.
whatever, AT&T wireless.
Right.
It's asking what kind of wireless are you connecting to?
Good point. That's a new feature in Windows 7 when you connect to any Wi-Fi network.
Oh, like Windows 7 related? Okay.
Exactly. It gives you an option, is this a home network, a public network, or work
Or
network?
work, I think it's
Because
those
it
three.
sets different firewall rules based on what profile you select. If you don't know, choose public.
Okay,
That's what I would do, right?
so it's more secure, your system would be more secure than
Secure.
to just choose, public, right? What would happen if you chose work or home?
It'll set we don't have any profile set for work. It'll just set it so that certain folders are not accessible to somebody who also connects to that network, right? So if you set it to public, all the folders will be unshared. So whoever is connecting to the same Wi-Fi network won't be able to get into your computer, right? If you set it to work, depending on how we set up the profile, which we haven't, it actually shares a few folders. So somebody from other side is trying to connect to the same Wi-Fi network and share, you guys can share documents.
So it sounds like even if I'm at home, though I already have it established, maybe I could change that, it should just be set as public.
I would, yeah.
So my neighbors can't actually see on the network my computer
Well,
or any shared folder.
do you share your home network with your neighbor?
No, I don't.
Okay, then you don't have to worry about it. Exactly. So your Wi-Fi is for everybody, always should have the Wi-Fi protected, right? Gotta have a password. Don't leave it without a password. Anybody can drive close to your home and log in. Who knows what they can do, you know?
Sometimes I find, what I do is, weekly, I found I have to do this, I find valid emails in my spam folder, where someone has said they sent an email to me and I never responded, and I go back and look for it, and I ended up finding it in my spam folder.
Those are false positives. So what happens, you know, if there might be a little word that might have ticked off that spam filter, I'm saying, hey, this might be an email that's a spam. It'll just flag it. So, as Toby said, you know, he goes in and checks the spam folder. I would do the same thing. I wouldn't just go in and delete all without checking which ones are really spam. Because every now and then, something will get through that's not a spam. And I'd rather have that instead of getting all the spam in my inbox. Every once in a while, false positives might get through into spam. You have to go in and click on the email and say, not spam, so it goes back to your inbox.
You say not spam, but does that mean that every time in the future that an email comes from that user, it will just go directly to your inbox?
Right. Go to your inbox.
Regardless of what they put in there?
You can
There are
also,
different filters too over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There are exchange filters that also decide if I send you an attachment with a zip file or with some weird attachment, it'll flag it. It won't even let you send the attachment.
Okay.
Question in the back?
Yeah, from a safety standpoint, is wireless and safe as well?
Depends on where you're connecting, right? If you're connecting here at work, you're docking your computer here, it's safe network, right? You have firewall rules that protect the network, protect your computer. But if you go on the Stanford Live or Starbucks cafe and you connect to Wi-Fi there, a lot of other people are logging into that are not Stanford affiliated, right? And yeah, it's less protected, if you will, because it's open, right? There is no password to get in. You go home, you have password-protected Wi-Fi. That's safe, you know, unless you share your Wi-Fi password with your neighbors, then it's not safe anymore, right?
a couple of other ways wireless can be safe. It's generally not as safe as wired, but it can be safe. So, like Parth mentioned, you want to password protect your wireless network. Make sure any important sites you're going to, make sure it has the HTTPS at the beginning of the address. That means any data you're sending to that site is being scrambled. So even if people are kind of sniffing for your data, whatever they see won't make any sense to them because that's being scrambled. Other things, we provide VPN. So if you're working through a wireless network, you're at an airport or something, you want to keep working, definitely use a VPN because that scrambles all the data that you're sending over the wireless network so that people can't just pick it up and make sense of what it is.
Regardless of what site you're going, even if it's not a Stanford site, if you have a VPN connection?
Yeah, so the VPN connection, I think, and you can correct me if I don't have this right. What the VPN does is it connects you to the VPN server here, and it directs all your network traffic through our network first.
Oh, so it's like having your laptop here on campus?
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's how you can get to the S drive,
Right, well, that's what I use it
Right.
for, right?
Yeah.
I use it to get there, but I didn't realize that if I was going to, I don't know, pay a bill or something,
Right.
or look up a credit card.
That's like you're doing it through your
It'd be
desk.
like I was doing it here.
Exactly. Yes, check.
I tried connecting to the, much with VPN from home, but I'm not on, I'm on a satellite dish. Huge network, it's a commercial.
Got it.
satellite dish. I still can't use the VPN to get to, Stanford, check my email from home. Get, like, time's up, kicks me out,
Now,
and asks me if I wanna work offline. Now, if I just go, through, web browser, or
Right.
something like that, then I can,
right,
but
not through Outlook.
not through a VPN, I can't.
So a lot of ISPs might have different profiles, different restrictions as well. I know at one time, SBC, Yahoo, Internet had a setup where they were blocking all the VPN traffic. So you connect to a VPN, it'll block all the internet traffic. Now, that might be the case with the Hughes network, right? Because it's not the case where you don't have internet. You do. It's just that you can't. VPN is not working. So something's blocking.
And Hughes said it had something to do with, bandwidth, if everything's out like this, coming off the satellite, then it tried to,
Yeah.
pump down. And
Right.
get through the funnel into Stanford's
Yeah.
VPN. And so if it takes so long, it just times out.
That's exactly the problem too. A lot of times what happens when you connect to a VPN, like Dobie said, it actually routes the traffic, like Daniel said, it routes the traffic from Stanford, right? Based on the bandwidth, based on how fast your internet download speeds are. If it doesn't go through that network in time, it'll just time out. That's why a lot of times you might have noticed VPN is slow to get to that drive, because it's depending on what Wi-Fi you're connecting to. If you're using a shared Wi-Fi at Starbucks, so many other people are also sharing that same network, so the bandwidth will be completely low for you to get to that drive, because it's going through Stanford's network and going out again, and if it doesn't happen in certain time, it'll just time out. I haven't had that problem at home because I have Comcast. I've noticed a lot of other ISPs have low bandwidth, and that can happen. And I've seen, like I said in the past, SBC, Yahoo, that's how they were named before, were blocking all VPN because of that reason, because the bandwidth was a problem.
Basically, there's nothing you can really do.
Exactly. Exactly.
That happens at some hotels when I'm traveling,
Good
I
point.
can't use the VPN.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on the wireless that's set up.
That's exactly right. And then when you're connecting to a wireless like that, I would just try to save some time. I would just log into my work email through a browser, check emails, and log off. Because I know the connection itself is so slow that web pages take time to load. So if I connect to a VPN, forget about it. That's not going to happen.
And then also documents I want to work on, I'm now with Box.
Yeah.
I tend to keep those documents on Box and
Yep.
not like on the S drive or.
Good point.
Or even on my laptop. I
Exactly.
might not take my laptop home with me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I wish I had that Excel file. Well, at least now I have it in Box, and
Yep.
all I need is web browser.
Or you can even access those from your iPad if you have one. That's the beauty of using Box.
Right. I don't need a laptop. I
You
can use
can,
my phone.
exactly. Jack can send you a copy of a spreadsheet, and you don't have a computer. You can even look it up from your phone just to review it. It'll be tough to edit it on a small screen, but at least you can access it. Exactly.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, thank you guys.